We have reached the new millennium, the 21st century. I started this marathon all the way back in December of 2021, and after almost 3 years, multiple breaks, and hundreds of hours spent editing videos, we have finally reached another massive milestone. Thank you guys for sticking with me all this time. And today, we have a widely beloved and action-filled epic for us to talk about. I'm of course talking about Gladiator, directed by Ridley Scott, who directed two of my all-time favorite films, Alien and Blade Runner. Those films are 10 out of 10 masterpieces in my opinion, but it took over 20 years for one of his films to finally nab the Best Picture award, even though he didn't win Best Director. Gladiator became the first film to win Best Picture without winning a directing or screenwriting award since All the King's Men way back in 1949. The man who did win Best Director that year was Steven Soderbergh for the film Traffic, but it was kinda predictable he would win because he was nominated for Best Director twice for two separate films that year, the other being Erin Brockovich. So it's kind of a shame for Ridley Scott, but that's the way it is. Anyway, enough chit-chat, let's talk about the film of the hour. Gladiator stars Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, Connie Nielsen, and Oliver Reed, and it tells the story of Maximus Decimus Meridius, a respected general in the Roman army, who's backstabbed during a power play by the new emperor of Rome, Commodus, after he murders the previous emperor, his father. Maximus's wife and son are brutally murdered, and he's sold into slavery, becoming a gladiator. After winning a few fights and making a new name for himself, Maximus returns to Rome in pursuit of vengeance. Gladiator is a good movie. I can definitely see all of the positives and all of the reasons why this film is so popular, but I don't think it's amazing or anything. I've definitely seen better Best Picture winners, and even better films from the same genre. So I wonder how much hate I'm gonna get for saying this, but I don't think Gladiator should have won. I would have cast my vote for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, one of the greatest foreign films to ever be nominated for Best Picture, and I think it should have been the first one to win. It would have been so cool if it did. Though Gladiator isn't a bad choice, by any means. One of the best things about Gladiator is that there's never a dull moment. The film is very fast-paced and mixes action with political intrigue very effectively. When we're not treated to a badass fight scene inside the arena, we get to experience all of the scheming and corruption behind the scenes that push the plot forward. Another great strength of the film is its scale. This film is suitably grand and epic in scope. It's a simple revenge story, but it's told with so much bravado and grandeur that it becomes a timeless and epic tale about an honest man fighting against an empire of lies. The costumes are great here, and some of them look totally badass, like that helmet Maximus wears. Damn, that's an awesome look. But the best thing about this movie is actually the first act as a whole. Gladiator has one of the best openings to any movie ever. The film does an excellent job at introducing all of the characters, establishing their relationships and motivations, and kicking off the major conflict of the film in spectacular fashion. Also, the most intriguing character in the entire movie appears only in the first act, that being the elderly emperor Marcus Aurelius, played by Richard Harris. I loved the character and Harris's performance. He was so fascinating to me. A man with all the power in the world that is willing to give it all up for what he thinks is right. That is the sign of a truly honorable man. However, his failure as a father leads to his undoing, and all of his plans get shattered to pieces by his son. Marcus Aurelius was my favorite character in the film, and his influence was felt throughout its entirety, even after he's no longer there. So as you can see, the film has a lot going for it, and I do like it and think it's good as a whole. With that being said though, I think the film could have been much better than it was, with a bunch of things bringing it down for me. Most of them are technical in nature. The cinematography and visuals in general were a mixed bag. Some shots were absolutely beautiful, while others felt rather dull. The fight scenes, though numerous, vary in quality, and the editing was especially not to my liking. It was rather choppy and the cuts were too quick and numerous. I wanted to see a few more wide shots, like this one. It's gorgeous! Why didn't every single fight scene have multiple shots like that one? That would have elevated the film tremendously, but instead we get mostly close-up and quick cuts, which is less my style. Other than the issues I had with the visuals, I found the characters to be rather bland. Other than Richard Harris, which I spoke about before, and Joaquin Phoenix, who does a great job as the deliciously evil and melodramatic villain that you love to hate, none of the other characters made too much of an impression on me, and that unfortunately includes Russell Crowe's Maximus. I didn't find him to be much of a compelling protagonist. Not that he was terrible or anything, Russell Crowe does a serviceable job here, especially with the more physical aspects of the role, but I didn't really feel for him that much throughout the movie. Which is weird because during the opening, which was the best part of the film, may I remind you, I actually really cared about him. He was very likable and sympathetic as the battle-hardened general who simply wants to return home to his family, and I felt the conflict within him when the Emperor asks him to become the new leader of Rome after he passes. And of course, when the rug is pulled from under him and he finds his family already dead, it's a very powerful and emotional moment. So all the groundwork was there. But from the moment he becomes a gladiator, the movie becomes empty and one note for the rest of its duration. Now Maximus has nothing to lose anymore, and it's all about the revenge from here on out. That was my final big issue with the film. After the first act, all of the emotional weight of the film disappeared for me, and the character development already reached the end. Maximus was the gladiator seeking vengeance, and Commodus was the evil emperor who needed to be brought to justice, and that's how they stayed until the very end. I still wanted to see Maximus achieve his goal, of course, but it didn't really matter to me as much. I know I may be in the minority here, but after the first act, which felt super consequential and high stakes, thanks to the character and plot developments, all of the stakes felt like they were sucked out. I just didn't care. A bunch of flashy action scenes and multiple scenes of Commodus being a prick, sure, but no meaningful change in the relationships between the characters. That made the film feel a bit underwhelming for me. So at the end of the day, Gladiator has multiple flaws that affected my viewing experience. It still has a bunch of good stuff in it as well though, so as a whole, I did enjoy it. It's a good film, but I don't think I can go as far as calling it a great one. Gladiator ends up near the middle of my list. It's the quintessential mixed bag in my opinion. Some good, some bad, overall an okay experience. I know the vast majority of people love this film, and good for them. I can definitely understand why. I just hope I did a good enough job at explaining why I'm not one of them. Up next is the 74th Best Picture winner, another film starring Russell Crowe. Back-to-back winners for this guy, holy hell. A Beautiful Mind. Will Russell Crowe top his previous effort? We'll find out. Check back again for the next video of DB Reviews Oscar Madness Marathon and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss a thing. Thank you all very much, and let the journey continue.